for Robert Presley, the man who won a year ago in an exciting finish right here at Darlington. Watch him to make a move. And Jeff Burton in the Baby Ruth Ford Thunderbird will start in 8th spot. Our field will mention 41 strong. There's Harry Gant and Ricky Craven down from the Butch Grand National North Tour. Chuck Bound, former series champion. Hermie Sadler, the rookie, in row 6. Back to row 7 and 8. Terry Labonte and Richard Lassiter. Bobby Donner and Rodney Combs in row 8. Row 9 is Mike Wallace, the younger brother of Rusty Wallace. Tracy Leslie. Row 10, Roy Payne, former Rookie of the Year in ARCA competition. And Tim Fedua, a former rookie in the ASA ranks. Back to row 11, Jack Sprague and Ward Burton. Row 12 has Todd Bodine and the veteran Tommy Houston making his 334th consecutive Busch Series start. Jim Bound and Jeff Green share row 13. There's the young lady from Des Moines, Shauna Robinson, and Joe Bessie in row 14. Back to row 15, Ed Barrier and Winston Cup regular Rick Mast. There's Phil Parsons along with Michael Waltrip in row 16. And of course, row 17 and 18 as the cars get ready to roll off, Larry Pearson and Alan Russell, Chad Little and Davey Allison, who won the IROC race here earlier today. He will start outside of row 18. Rookie Jason Keller, Winston Cup veteran Bill Elliott, Nathan Butke, a rookie, and Dale Jarrett, the 1993 Daytona 500 winner, starts 40th, with sprint car ace Sammy Swindell bringing up shotgun on the field, the only car in row 21.
Jerry, you can see there's still some dampness on pit road. As these cars move off of pit road, of course, the crew members will go out there and try to dry that as much as they can.
Today's race, 200 miles, 147 laps. The purse, $194,030. I don't believe many in the area would have given you a chance to have this race today about noon, Ned, when the rains moved back in following the International Race of Champions event, and the clouds came over the racetrack, covered. It got awfully dark here. We had thunderstorms, lightning, thunder, and a tremendous rain shower.
Yes, at that point, it didn't look like there would be any racing here this afternoon, but fortunately, that storm moved through fairly quickly, but it takes a little while to get the track dry, and the officials here have done a great job at that, using the jet dryer as well as the Chevrolet safety trucks, and the track surface, the racing surface, is in good condition.
You can see, looking out the windshield there, getting the view from Mark Martin's Winn-Dixie Ford Thunderbird, the track is indeed quite dry as we're getting set for racing action. And while the cars get warmed up, we'll take one more break prior to the green flag as we get ready for Busch Series racing action from Darlington. Car has the field in tow. Take a look at this track they call Too Tough to Tame. The Lady in Black, Darlington Raceway. An egg-shaped oval, 1.366 miles. The turns quite a bit different. Turns 1 and 2, bank 25 degrees. See the narrow angle there, the very acute turn. Narrow radius of turns 1 and 2. The backstretch, 1,228 feet in length up that back straightaway. And the track widens out there in turns 3 and 4. It's banked 23 degrees. Less banking, but a greater radius in the turns. That treacherous turn 4 where you have to suddenly get in shape to come down that front straightaway. Again, 1,228 feet. It looks simple, but a lot of people will tell you this track can reach out and bite you in a hurry. And one driver who's already been bitten is the Baby Ruth Ford Thunderbird on pit road, and Benny Parsons is there.
Well, you know, Jeff Burton told us while the other race was going on, while we were watching last year's race, that they just changed engines this morning, and something is wrong with this thing. It's just not hitting on all cylinders. They're trying to they're now the distributor cap off, looking to make sure that they haven't broken a rotor or a cap or something like that. They're trying to find the problem, what it is. They don't know, neither do I.
Tough break for Jeff Burton. The field coming by. He finished 3rd in Richmond just a few weeks ago. He had a 6th place run at Daytona. Certainly looking to get a good run in the Phil Martossi-owned Ford Thunderbird. They're going to send the car out. NASCAR's asked for a volunteer, and after what happened here last year, who else to go out but Robert Presley?
The only time that he'll get an opportunity to pass that pace car without penalty, Jerry.
There's Robert Presley, left of your screen, car number 59. The Alliance Training Center Chevrolet. Daniel Welch on machine out of Asheville, North Carolina.
And also Chuck Bound, former champion of this series. That's car number 63 behind Presley. They're checking it out to see how the tires are adhesing to the pavement in the turns. It looked like they went through turns 1 and 2 pretty good.
They went through turns 1 and 2 in a hurry. Presley and Chuck Bound. Presley, of course, picked up that win here last year. His first win of the season, went on to win 4 other events. They're tremendous year, 5 victories, And there's Chuck Brown, the 1990 Series champion for the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series in the Nescafe ST Pontiac.
And I'll bet they'll radio back in and say, guys, this thing is ready to race, because they look like they felt good out there.
Well, these guys haven't raced since March the 6th. They have not been on a racetrack competitively. Of course, they were in Atlanta. Remember the snows, the blizzard of 93 hit Atlanta. And here goes the Baby Ruth Ford back out. Car number 8, that's Jeff Burton. Phil Marcossione car. You heard him talk earlier with Benny Parsons about the trouble they had with the engine, getting that car back onto the racetrack. The report is that Chuck Brown and Robert Presley have radioed that the track appears to be okay. Crew's still doing some sweeping on pit road. A few minor puddles here and there, but by and large, they are working on pit road. In just a moment, we're going to be able to get ready for green flag racing. And it's very important. NASCAR will not start a race, even if the track is dry, until they can get pit road into a safe situation.
Well, you see how much water is in this particular area of the pit road. They want to get that cleared up. Now, the other spots up there, you can see dampness, but there's not water standing there, so it'll dry relatively quickly as Jeff Burton comes back down pit road. He had gone out on the racetrack, but he's coming back in now. But we're going to get a green yellow flag condition, I believe, Jerry, when they come around.
They were looking at possibly waving the green flag. They still have the yellow flag being shown from the starter stand. That's Carl Simmons and Mike Harwood atop the starter stand. The field now moving its way up into turns 3 and 4. The car number 8, by virtue of making those stops on pit road, Jeff Burton will have to go to the rear of the field.
He was lined up in 8th position as a result of that being in that position in the point standings. Tough break, but if they did get his problem fixed, well, he won't mind that so badly if that Ford is hitting on all 8 cylinders. Okay, there is the green and yellow. That means they start counting the laps now.
The 21st race in the Busch Series that they've run here at Darlington Raceway, Darlington International Raceway. And they are using some heavy equipment now on pit road. These push brooms just weren't quite enough. They brought out the tractors to try to get that one puddle just about the midpoint of pit road over to the side so it can drain. And a couple of swipes with that tractor should just about do it, as they've got that puddle under control. Pretty much the rest of pit road, that looks pretty dry.
Yes, it does. There are still some wet spots on it, but they're not puddles of water as we're seeing in this one particular area. And it will dry pretty quickly because the sun is shining everywhere around the speedway. That should dry it off pretty quickly, but you can see that water, a low spot in the pavement there, and that water just stood in that particular area. So now the tractor try to sweep that over. I guess there's a drain or something there maybe where that water can go. I don't know where he's sending it to.
Well, while they're trying to dry pit road, we'll take one more break and come back with green flag racing action from right here in Darlington. Good crowd on hand for the Busch Series competition. Back with more after this. The 34. Jeff Burton, the South Boston, Virginia driver, he is once again on pit road. They have the hood up, Benny.
Yeah, Jared, they decided to change the carburetor. You see the carburetor laying on pit road. They're taking the old one off. He went back on the racetrack and went around the track at about 60 miles per hour, wide open. That's as fast as the car would run. So then they now are taking the old carburetor loose. The bolts are almost loose. Meanwhile, the cars have taken the green flag. Jeff Burton is now a lap down. But obviously, he has to get the car running better than 60 miles an hour. Otherwise, he might as well park. So now the old carburetor is coming off. They've grabbed the new one. They're putting it back on. Hopefully, that will fix the problem.
Benny, it has not been a good week for that team. Gil Martin, who is the crew chief for that team, his mother passed away early in the week. Mama Ann Martin up in Nashville, Tennessee. She was sort of the one who looked after the whole operation, cooked for them, fed them all, and they have been certainly in a funk the past 3 or 4 days. The team not feeling real well because of the loss of one of their own. Mama Ann Martin and, of course, Gil and all the team here to race, but it has been a very, very difficult week for that Philmar racing operation. Getting set for green flag racing here. We have the green flag out. We are under caution, and we are told that this time by, everything's looking good on pit road. We'll probably get a signal for one lap, and we'll turn them loose.
Of course, everyone had to maintain their position while they're in this green-yellow flag condition. No passing going on. You can see the pace car directly in front of David Green and Joe Nemechek. But if they do get the signal for one more lap, as we said earlier, the racing surface, the groove is dry and in good condition.
And you'll be able to see your favorite driver, some of the new color schemes here in the Busch Series competition for 1993. We're going to have, of course, our Busch Series coverage today, and next week we'll be at the High Banks in Bristol, Tennessee for Busch Series, as well as Winston Cup racing action up at Larry Carrier's fine facility up there in the Tri-Cities, Tennessee area. There's the front row, David Green and Joe Nemechek, the series champion. Row 2, a couple of Chevrolets, Tom Peck and Steve Grissom. Getting ready to turn them loose here. 147 laps. That's 200 miles on this 1.366 banked asphalt oval. Glad to have you with us. John Kernan, Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, and yours truly, Jerry Punch, getting ready to bring you Busch Series racing action. Only the 4th race of the year, this 28-race, $6 million tour here in the NASCAR Series. We might mention that some of the Winston Cup regulars who run this series mired back in the pack, including Dale Jarrett, who has been suffering from pneumonia this week. Jarrett, a question mark whether he'd even be able to come to Darlington and run the Winston Cup race, much less the Busch Series event, Ned.
Well, he's been pretty sick. At Atlanta last week in the Winston Cup race there that they ran on Saturday, he was really pretty ill, Jerry, and then went home, went to the doctor, and they told him that he had a slight case of pneumonia, but he said this morning that he was feeling better. Of course, you know, any athlete's going to say that.
Not long ago, race drivers don't listen to doctors, so I knew Dale would be here. And there's the car number 32, a brand new paint job and a new sponsor, Pick and Pay Shoes, sponsoring Dale Jarrett's Busch Series operation, a 2-time winner here at Darlington. As we get set for full bore green flag racing action, lap number 5. Glad to have you here at the track Too Tough to Tame.
Go into that first turn 2 abreast. They can run around that turn 2 abreast. It's basically a one-groove racetrack there, but until they get their speed up, they can go 2 abreast. Looks like Joe Nemechek has jumped out into a pretty good lead there.
Nemechek has pulled away, but the battles for second spot. There's Mark Martin, the car number
trouble over in between turn 2 and 3. Several cars involved, and more cars getting involved now.
Heavy contact. About half the field having to jump on the brakes. One car gets tapped and loops around. That's Bobby Dotter in the car number 08. Bobby Dotter, the second-generation driver. The new DeWalt sponsorship on his machine. There's Bobby Dotter sitting in the car patiently. A couple cars rolling down across the track.
Well, one thing about this racetrack, Jerry, when a car gets sideways in the groove, there is not much place to go. We'll take a look at it again as they come around, and you can see one of the yellow cars got crossways, and then another yellow car hit him. We'll cipher those out in a moment, see who it was, and then cars started going everywhere as drivers started hitting their brakes to slow down or getting down on that flat part of the track and losing control, and a lot of them banging into each other. You can see there 1, 2, 3, 4. One car almost got up on his side. A lot of action here early.
Bobby Dotter's car number 08 getting sideways. His car being contacted. Other cars involved. There's the car number 16. That's the efforts of Jeff Green out of Owensboro, Kentucky. The Wayne Day-owned Chevrolet. And here's Tim Fedua, young man, an impressive young driver, former ASA and ARTCO Rookie of the Year, coming on to the Busch Series ranks.
One of those yellow cars that was involved. And Jerry, you know, we said that this track bites hard and fast. Doesn't take long.
His car, that Ford owned by Ray and Diane DeWitt. Remember, this is a young man who had a great qualifying run at Daytona and looked to be running well in the early laps and was involved in that massive crash, not of his own doing, but in the early laps and taken out of that event. And now Tim Fedua, once again, says, I know I need to go to the hospital and get checked out. That's the rules, but let me just glance at my race car one more time.
Yeah, he figures he's in much better shape than the race car is as he walks away dejectedly. Had his hopes high here at Darlington, and here's another car that's banged hard in the car number 27, which is Roy Payne, one of the rookie drivers.
That's Roy Payne's High Tools machine. Roy Payne, of course, the 1990 ARTCA Rookie of the Year. That's Steve Birdie, his crew chief on that machine, who's a crew chief, of course, for some pretty good drivers in the history of this series. He's been with Kenny Wallace, he's with Rob Moroso. Roy Payne now sitting on pit road, his car heavily damaged. That's the car number 25, or 27, we should say, the High Tool Chevrolet.
And just behind him on pit road is the car number 74, I believe, of Jack Sprague, the Staff America car. We're still looking at the High Tools car there. You can see there's damage on just about every corner, particularly there on the right side of that car, but there's damage on the left side as well. And there is the car number 74 of Jack Sprague, the Staff America car.
That's the Chevrolet owned by Bill Bumgardner. Robert Hamke and the crew working on that car for Jack Sprague. Had a 12th place finish earlier in the year at Rockingham. Hope to be getting a chance to have a good run here. But everything's breaking loose in the early laps here at Darlington. One car spinning up in turns 3 and 4, and nowhere else to field, all bunched together on the early laps here of the green flag racing. And suddenly a handful of cars are on pit road, and at least 2 cars have been eliminated. Those 2 cars, as you see being pulled off the track, the 55 car of Tim Fedewa and the car number 08, another yellow machine. That is the Bobby Dotter machine. On pit road, Jack Sprague's car number 74, and of course the car number 27 of Roy Payne. They have been working on that machine. Coming up live after this race, we're going to join live in progress the Mid-East Regional basketball game. And tonight you'll be able to see it in its entirety at midnight Eastern time, 9 p.m. Pacific time. This event was supposed to be on live at 3 o'clock. We are not finished with this Busch Series event, so we will join that game in progress from Iowa City. Of course, the top-ranked Lady Volunteers of Tennessee taking on the Hawkeyes of Iowa. That's the Mid-East Regional Final from Iowa City. Following this race, we will join that live, and you'll be able to see it in its entirety tonight at midnight on ESPN. We're under caution for the first time today here at Darlington Raceway for a massive crash in turn 4. Back with more racing action.
Making some moves. He started far back. He was in 32nd position, Jerry, at the start of this race. And this is the car number 23, owned by Mark Ripien and being driven by Chad Little. That car was off the past in practice yesterday.
Of course, Mark Ripien, the Washington Redskins quarterback, and Chad Little, a former Winston Cup regular, now having a pretty solid ride in the Busch Series. He is following Michael Waltrip in that Pennzoil Pontiac, as you mentioned, Ned. This is the car Michael won with here last September.
Wait a minute, you can't go 3 abreast into that turn. Somebody better back off. And one of them did. It's a good thing because, boy, those turns are not wide enough for 3 abreast racing.
They split the car number 98 of Jim Bound.
Jim wisely backed off.
Said, I've seen this act before. I'm going to back off a little bit as those 2 cars trying to weave their way back toward the front. And here are the 2 they're chasing, Joe Nemechek in the car number 87 from Lakeland, Florida, and Mark Martin in the car number 60.
Nemechek staying with Martin. There's the yellow car of Harry Gant that came into the picture. He has moved up into 3rd. He is on the move. He might be the fastest car on the racetrack as we watch this action between Steve Grissom and Ricky Craven.
That's for 4th and 5th. Grissom in the car number 31, running in the 4th place.
But just a few laps ago, Harry Gant just blew past them, Jerry. Gant had started back in the 9th position and is already up to 3rd. As we see Ricky Craven now moving around Steve Grissom in the Channel Lock car.
Craven takes a DuPont car, Ned, by and will take away that 4th position from Steve Grissom. Now, we mentioned there's already been a caution flag. If you just joined us, a massive crash in turn 4. One of the drivers involved standing by with John Kernan.
Jerry, Bobby Dotter has been checked out in the infield care center, and he's gotten a clean bill of health. Bobby, you're okay. What happened out there on the racetrack?
Well, the DeWalt High Performance Power Tools car was really good this weekend, and I'm really disappointed that start of a race after the rain and that, a lot of guys were being careful, and Ward Burton just dove in on the bottom going into 3 there and pushed up, got into my quarter panel and turned me sideways. And once I started spinning, unfortunately, some cars got into me, but we're going to try to fix the car and get out there and run a few laps.
Bobby Dotter and the crew will try and get out and run a few more laps, run for points. DeWalt Tools has signed on. So very good news in that respect for the Dotter race team.
Certainly a bright future for Bobby Dotter. He'd like to get that car back in and be able to gather some points after picking up a win last year in Busch Series racing. There's our leader, Mark Martin. Brand new race car for Mark Martin, not the car he won with at Rockingham or Richmond. A brand new Ford Thunderbird for the Roush Racing Winn-Dixie stable there here in Busch Series competition. We're in the early laps. In fact, 19 laps showing in the books at Darlington in the Mark III Vans Busch Series 200.
Reynolds for Quaker State.
The big Q stands
Series NASCAR racing from Darlington, South Carolina. As Harry Gant tries to make a move for second spot. Gant in the French's Mustard yellow car, and they nearly touch in turn one.
Yes, they came awfully close there, but Gant gets the second position from Joe Nemechek. New sponsor on Gant's car this year. It was yellow last year, but different name on it now.
They're going to have as many as 5 different products on that car throughout the year. French's Mustard on it right now will be on it for 10 of the Busch Series events. There's the Dentine car, Joe Nemechek behind them. Car number 75 has gone to the garage area. Tough break for Butch Miller. In the Food Country USA, the Charlie Henderson-owned machine. They have an early exit here. They'll be going to Charlie Henderson's hometown next week in Bristol, Tennessee, where that car always runs well. For those of you tuning in, hoping to see NCAA basketball, the Mid-East Regional game out in Iowa City between the top-ranked Lady Volunteers of Tennessee and the Iowa Hawkeyes. That game will be joined in progress following the conclusion of this Busch Series event. Due to a rain delay, this race started late. We will go out to Iowa City following the end of this event, and you'll be able to see that game in its entirety tonight at midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific. That's again the Mid-East Regional Final in Iowa City, Iowa, between top-ranked Tennessee and the Hawkeyes of Iowa. That'll be following the conclusion of this 200-mile Busch Series event.
Mark Martin holding on to the lead as we look out his front windshield coming off of turn 2, now off of turn 4 into turn 1. He's going in there now, but he is really on the move, but so is Harry Gant.
Battle for 12th and 13th. The car number 34, the Fiddle Faddle machine of Todd Bonai. Chevrolet Lumina, car number 34, going around Tracy Leslie's car number 72. They're moving in on the car number 25 of Hermie Sadler, a rookie driver, 23 years of age from Emporia, Virginia. He gets a little bit of introduction as Todd Bonai gives him a little bumper tap, more of a tap, actually in turn 2.
Some close racing out here. He moves down to the inside, Hermie does, and lets those cars go by. He realizes he needs to get a lot of experience here as Ward Burton now works on the car number 7, which of course is being driven by Tracy Leslie.
Once again, just a minute ago, take a look at what happens to a rookie at Darlington. If you don't know, there's a faster car or a car trying to get by. Car number 25, and boom, he gets a little tap from behind. And that's got to make you a little nervous when you're in the turn and the car's almost ready to break loose anyway and someone behind you gets in a hurry.
Yeah, I think he maybe had to back off a little bit. His car got a little loose coming off of that turn, and Todd Bodine just ran up on him and gave him that little bit of a tap. Did a great job of holding the car.
And Mark Martin now beginning to set sail in his Winn-Dixie Thunderbird, moving in on some of the lap traffic. 41 cars started this 200-mile event at Darlington. Here's the car number 14. That's Terry Labonte, the MW Windows Chevrolet. And he goes by the car number 44, which was our pole sitter and current point leader, David Green. And the car number 44 sort of backsliding a little bit. Let's check in with John Kernan.
Well, Jerry, they were running pretty well in practice yesterday, but he was concerned with the tires going away just a little bit early. David is really happy, ecstatic, you might say, to be in the points lead right now. He's saying that they're carrying over the momentum left over from Bobby Labonte, who owns the team, in his run toward the title last year. David said he's running basically Bobby's setups the first half of this year and learning how to tweak them. So maybe Bobby's setup for long runs here at Darlington is not quite what David likes in the car. But he says by the time they come here again in the fall, in the late summer, they'll be ready to contend for the win.
And now Terry Labonte is moving in the inside of Steve Grissom. That's for 6th spot as he takes the spot away from the Channel Lock Chevrolet of Grissom. Terry Labonte in the MW Windows Chevrolet.
Car he owns himself.
They keep the car up in Trinity, North Carolina. It's in the same shop as the car number 44 that's owned by his brother Bobby Labonte. Terry said he plans to run about 24 Busch Series events in 1993 and got a great sponsorship from one of the, I think it's the 4th largest window maker in the nation up in Rocky Mount, Virginia, the MW Windows folks.
Well, we understand that Tommy Houston, the only driver to have started every Busch Series race since the series was formed in 1982, is out of the race. His Rosie's store is Ford and might be having a gearing problem. Looks like some smoke coming from it.
Our spotters reporting smelling some rear end grease from that car. Tommy making his 334th consecutive start.
Good battle still going on there for 12th, 13th, and 14th. Tracy Leslie, Chuck Bowen, and Ward Burton.
This is the Buick car number 2, the Hardee's sponsored car of Ward Burton. Now heavy traffic to car number 57, Jason Keller, one of the former All-Pro Series drivers, now a rookie in Busch Series competition. He's a talented young driver. Watch for him in the future as he gets lapped early on by the car number 60 of Mark Martin. Now, in practice net, everyone knew Martin would be quick, but they said if he qualifies, no doubt he'll be on the pole.
Well, he was very, very fast, no doubt about it. And it's not surprising to see him lapping some good race cars here this early in the race. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of other drivers not too far ahead of him that he'll be putting a lap down if this thing stays green for a while.
That's the car number 9, the FDP Brakes car, Mike Wallace, the Barry Owens on machine. Now Martin is trying to go by. And here is Grissom, the car number 31, Steve Grissom, trying to hold off a challenge from the 44, our point leader, David Green. Right behind him is Tom Peck, and here comes Todd Bodine in the fiddle paddle machine.
Grissom's car apparently not handling too well. He's been going back a little, not really going backwards, but others are coming up and passing him. He's going backwards in the standings. And there is Todd Bodine coming around as David Green gets by Grissom. Now Todd Bodine moves down to the inside. He wants to make the pass himself.
Todd Bodine has 4 Busch Series victories. I'm talking about the driver of the car number 34. To his credit, 2 of those coming on ESPN. One at Michigan and one at Bristol, Tennessee last year. Here's our field summary. Martin the leader, Gannon second, Joe Nemechek is third, Ricky Craven is fourth, looking 6 through 10, Labonte, Green, Grissom, Peck, and Bodine.
11 through 15, Tracy Leslie, Chuck Bowen, Ward Burton, Davey Allison made a good move up to 14th place. There's Michael Walker moving up through the pack. Chad Little, Dale Jarrett moved from 40th to 20th. You can see Rick Mast. I think Rick just went into the pits, but he was running 22nd.
As you watch our field summary on the screen, just moments ago, saw Todd Bodine make a good move to go by both Grissom and Green to take away that 7th position. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th there on your screen. Todd Bodine in the Frank Cece Scott Welliver on car number 34. Behind him, David Green, the Slim Jim Chevrolet. Then comes the Steve Grissom machine, the Channel Lock sponsored car. Meanwhile, back up front, Mark Martin just zipping in and out of traffic. The Winn-Dixie Ford Thunderbird, after starting the year in trouble at Daytona by not making the field, he has set sail in the past 3 events. Back with more Busch Series action from Darlington after this.
In the
City following the conclusion of our 200-mile event. The top 20, Mark Martin, Harry Gant, Joe Nemechek, Ricky Craven, and Robert Presley. 6 through 10, Terry Labonte, Todd Bodine, David Green, Tom Peck, and Tracy Leslie. 11 through 15, Grissom, Allison, Bowen, Burton, and Jack Sprague. And 16 through 20, Michael Waltrip making a move, Chad Little, Hermie Sadler, Jim Bowen, and Dale Jarrett, who started 40th on the field, has now moved halfway through.
Correct, Jerry. I believe we got some rain this move back in. Boy, I thought the clouds were totally gone just before this race started, but the wind has been blowing here, and looks like there has some rain moved back in.
So some of the rain has moved back around. Some showers now being shown as Carl Simmons atop the flag stand waved the caution flag for the 3rd time today. Getting a good look there at the caution lights blinking atop the flag stand here at Darlington. Showing 44 laps in the books, and Mark Martin is our leader. Martin had pulled away to a comfortable lead, advantage over Harry Gant in the French's Chevrolet.
And Jerry, we had shown the top 20 positions there. There is only one other car in the lead lap, and that is Bill Elliott, and he was not too far from being lapped by Mark Martin. So this caution will be somewhat of a break for Elliott.
Indeed, and also some of the drivers who are going to be looking for pit stops in the near future. There's Elliott's Budweiser Ford Thunderbird. Elliott, in fact, he only ran 3 laps of practice yesterday. Said the car was so good, the car felt so good, they just covered it up, so we're ready to race.
It was awfully fast. I had a clock on him there early in the early practice session, and he put it back in the garage area and said, hey, we're ready to qualify and ready to race. Of course, they didn't get to qualify, but you know, the track conditions, as several of the drivers alluded to before we went on the air with the race, that the track would be different because of all the rain last night and this morning, and maybe the setup he had that was so good yesterday, not so good today.
And the wind has picked up, and so is the rain, as you see some of this crowd beginning to head for cover. Really, a storm can come up in a hurry here in central South Carolina, as you now see the winds picking up and some of the umbrellas being pulled down by the crews on pit road. There's the Pontiac safety car, Mark Martin right behind him in that black and white numeral car number 60, the Winn-Dixie Ford Thunderbird. We might mention that Bill Elliott car, by the way, is not a Junior Johnson prepared car. It's a car that they prepare out of the Charles Hardy stable in Dahlonega, Georgia. Gene Roberts is the crew chief on that Busch Series operation.
Well, you can see everybody taking cover. Harry Gant came down pit road. He was in second place. He went by his pits, but I think all the guys, his pit crew was headed for shelter somewhere. Nobody there to service him. So I guess he's coming back out, but it looks like they're maybe going to stop the race here.
Well, we are under rain once again here in Darlington, South Carolina. We had a delay of starting this race in a little over an hour. The race began. We are now 45 laps in, and once again we have torrential rains at Darlington. Back with more after this. Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. The clouds have moved away, the rains have stopped, and we've got a barn burner for you. NASCAR Busch Grand National Series racing action. Robert Presley from Asheville, North Carolina. Last year's winner has assumed the lead. Harry Gant in second spot. Terry Labonte is third. Davey Allison coming from the back of the pack to front fourth. And our series champion, Joe Nemechek, is fifth. Todd Bodine, David Green, Ward Burton, Michael Waltrip, and Mark Martin rounding out the top 10. But Harry Gant, the veteran four-time winner here at this racetrack in Busch Series competition, he's in the yellow car, is beginning to put pressure on the young driver from Asheville, North Carolina.
He has really had pressure on him for several laps, Jerry. He's now looking a little bit high. Presley running in the center groove. He knows what the groove is around this racetrack. He won here last year, beating Harry Gant, the man that's running right on his back bumper. But Gant just hasn't been able to do anything with him.
You're wondering about Mark Martin. He made a pit stop. He had a possible overheating problem, a couple of pit stops during the caution flag. Now you're riding with Mark Martin in the Winn-Dixie Ford Thunderbird. His car number 60 has now worked its way back into the top 10 at 10th position. Has a fast race car, but the question mark, Ned, is will it overheat?
Well, he's had problems with it. And he's slowing down right now as we talk about him, Jerry. He's slowing, moving to the inside of the track. Apparently it has overheated once again.
And can you believe Mark Martin, probably the fastest car, no doubt the fastest car on the racetrack, but he's made a couple of unscheduled stops, and once again will be headed for pit road. Steve Mill and the crew will be waiting on Mark Martin as he heads for pit road, our early leader, and now problem as he brings the car down the pits. Benny Parsons.
Jerry, he's not headed for the pits. He's headed for the garage area. They have decided to call it a day. Steve Mill walked by me, just shook his head, and said it's over. He's walking back to the Winston Cup garage area to work on the Valvoline Ford. The Winn-Dixie Ford is history.
And you're right, Benny. He took the car down pit road, turned, and went in the opening and is headed back to the garage area. So the driver who had won 2 in a row in Busch Series competition at Rockingham and Richmond will not make it the sweep for 3 here in Darlington.
Now the Grand National garage area here, the Busch Series garage area, is on the back straight here at the Darlington International Raceway. And of course that's where we saw him head right on in there.
Robert Presley moving beneath one of the rookie drivers, Alan Russell, in the car number 70. Gant now makes the hard left-hand turn to go by the rookie driver, former All-Pro and ARCA driver. Good battle here. The Pennzoil Pontiac of Michael Waltrip making a move inside of Ward Burton in the Hardy's Buick. Whoa, nearly
wow, they got awfully close.
Big break for Michael Waltrip and Ward Burton using that brake pedal.
Now he had made a pit stop. Michael Waltrip had during a caution period not too long ago. So he has come from the back of the pack now up to the 7th position. He is really on the move. Michael Waltrip might be one of the fastest cars on the racetrack right now.
He is being shown in 8th spot. We are showing 103 laps of 147, which comprise this 200-mile event. Back with more Green Flag Racing after this.
John,
Our Busch Grand National Series Mark III Vans 200. Earlier today, weather affected everything, including our family channel blimp. And now it's airborne, giving us some beautiful shots high atop this famed track Too Tough to Tame. And Harry Gant just on cue, waiting for it to come out of brakes. And okay, now I'll pass. No, I think better of it. I'll get in line behind Robert Presley.
Robert Presley just drove that thing right on down into turn 3. I think Harry expected him maybe to back off, but he didn't. He just drove her in there hard, and as a result, Robert Presley held on to the lead.
Take a look at our AutoZone recap. Our leader, Robert Presley, has led 31 of the 105 laps. There have been 4 cautions for 28 laps. 5 different leaders, 5 lead changes. Average speed because of the 4 caution flags, just 57.803 miles per hour. Lap leaders, Mark Martin, our early leader, Joe Nemechek, David Green, Robert Presley, and of course Harry Gant has led for 2 laps. Out of race, well, a number of cars. Rick Mass, Jeff Green, Shauna Robinson. Of course, you look at the cars out of the race. A big accident, if you've just joined us back on lap 6, eliminated about 4 or 5 of those cars. Others have experienced problems here later on in the day. Good battle up front between Robert Presley and Harry Gant. And Benny Parsons, you're watching that battle from the pits.
Yeah, sure am, Jerry. And see right behind those guys, you see the 57 car, that white car. Jason Keller has caught the leader. He's a lap down, but he's caught them. The reason he's caught them, Jerry, they're taking it easy. It's really close on whether they can make it on fuel or not. Fuel or not, Robert Presley and Harry Gant both have decided, I think, to gamble and go the rest of the way. They're not really driving the car up to its maximum right now. They're taking it easy, trying to conserve some fuel. And it's going to be a real crapshoot whether they can make it or whether they can't. Now, we talked about tires. The tires are not that good. They're good for about 50, 60 laps. They're going to have to run about 70 laps on the tires. Which one's tires give up the worst? That's who's going to run second. The guy who takes care of his tires the best will win the race, and that's what they're trying to do. Conserve fuel and take care of their tires.
Benny, Jason Keller's having the time of his life right now. A rookie competitor, former Rookie of the Year in the NASCAR Winston All-Pro Series, running right there with Harry Gant and Robert Presley. He's not sure they're taking it easy.
No, he isn't too sure what they're doing, but he certainly feels good, as you say, about running up there with them. Jason, of course, is a winner in other forms of competition, but new to the Busch Series.
Now beginning to move in on some of the other traffic. Robert Presley with Harry Gant in second. Those two drivers realizing you can conserve some fuel with the draft. Rather than dicing it up side by side, they go by the Shauna Robinson car. Car number 35, back out on the racetrack. Let's check in with John Kernan. John?
Well, I'm in David Green's pit, and I was just listening to what Vinny had to say about them backing off, about Harry and Robert backing off, trying to make it the rest of the way. The tires are the concern down here in Green's pit. Once again, for like the second or third time, they're going around remeasuring the wear on these tires. Now, the left front tire of David Green's car had worn, the tread had worn about halfway with only 30 green flag laps. They're questionable as to whether they can make it all the way on fuel, but even more so on tires. So that's the concern right here, and I imagine up and down pit road.
Boy, a close call, John, for Sammy Swindell. As you were giving us that tire report, Swindell nearly tagged the wall. The sprint car ace, driving the car number 26, kept it out of that concrete. Take a look at our field summary here. Robert Presley now begins to pull away. Presley, Gant, Labonte, David Green, and Davey Allison. Waltrip, Ward Burton, Dale Jarrett now being shown in the top 10. Joe Nemechek. Showing you our field summary, how they're running at this point in the race. 114 laps in the books of 147. Mark Martin has parked it. Will be credited with 25th spot.
But as you can see, there were still 17 cars in the lead lap. Competition hot and heavy here today. It looks like Michael Walker has just slowed dramatically. Michael had moved up into the 6th spot, or is that?
That's Harry Gant.
Harry Gant. The yellow car, they're both yellow cars, and that's Harry Gant that's coming into the pits. Michael Walker keeps going, and the yellow flag is out. So Gant, now let's see if he will just go on back out and stay in the lead lap. He's going on now. He's going to stop in the pit. Going on back out. We told him, said, hey, go on, stay in the lead lap. He would have got left if they would have serviced the car.
So caution coming out for the 5th time a day. Suddenly, the entire complexion of this race could change. Gant had made an entry on the pit road. The caution comes out. Jim Harmon, the crew chief, and Jason Keller trying to unlap himself in a dash back to the start-finish line. Can't quite get around Robert Presley, our leader in the car number 59. Caution being shown once again by Carl Simmons. Coming up tonight, Budweiser Racing Across America, the Jim Beam Stakes from Florence, Kentucky. Following this race, of course, we'll have hoof power after we have a little horsepower from Darlington. And if you were looking for the skiing that was going to be on later tonight, that'll be on at midnight tonight. Skiing World Freestyle Championships coming up at midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific. That's the World Freestyle Championship at midnight Eastern Time tonight.
Now, Benny Parsons was talking about them being close as far as fuel is concerned. Will Robert Presley come in? Yep, he sure is.
So will Terry Labonte behind him. There's David Green. And David Green being one of the fastest cars on the track. He was being shown in the third position, car number 44. That's the car owned by Bobby Labonte, but here comes Terry Labonte, Bobby's brother, and David Green. And, of course, our leader, Robert Presley. Pit road suddenly gets very, very busy.
Yes, it does. And, of course, there are a number of other cars that are pitting on the backstretch. Some of those that were running in the top 5, including Davey Allison and Michael Waltrip. I don't know if they will pit or not. Harry Gant now comes into the pit, and they're changing right side tires on his car. Robert Presley getting 4 tires.
Here's David Green. They're now working on that machine. Back showing you Robert Presley once again, top of the screen. That's Ricky Pearson, the crew chief. Presley's car is down and away. They're still working on the Gant machine. And the car number 44 has a bit of a problem. The car comes off the jack finally. Had a problem with the lug nut, cost them some seconds. And now Gant, Harry Gant, finally getting his car off the jack. They had trouble with the left side. The Ed Whitaker crew. So we're under caution for the 5th time today. We will have 30 laps remaining here at Darlington, South Carolina in the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series event. Back after this. Stay with us.
Track facts are brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
How many times have we seen this? A car slows, he comes into the pits with ignition problems. A mechanic dives in that right door, he stays in there 2 or 3 laps, he comes back out, and the car drives away. Here's what he was doing. These are 2 entire different ignition systems. He would unplug this one and plug it into that one. He also had to come underneath the instrument panel and change the coil wires. He would have to take this out and plug it into there. All this has changed now with the addition of this little black box. You see these 2 wires running down there and the coil wire running to the engine. Now, Joe Nemechek, what do you have to do to change ignition systems?
Benny, all we have to do now is flip one switch. We have 2 separate ignition systems, and we change the switch, and you don't even have to come in the pits anymore. It's just a matter of let off the gas, flip the switch, and you keep on going.
And it's all because of this little black box right there.
Well, technology makes it as simple as a flip of a switch, Ned.
Yep, and there are little black boxes everywhere, it seems like.
Oh, they are.
Always come in handy.
There's 4 of them in front of us. I still haven't figured out what they do. But anyway, we're going to get back to Busch Grand National Racing. Looks like we're going to have about, 28 laps to go. Make it 27 this time by. As we'll show lap 120 coming up of 147. Robert Presley trying to hold on and make it 2 in a row here in this spring event at Darlington. Green flag waves once again. A reminder, in Busch Series racing, the fast cars restart on the inside as opposed to Winston Cup where they start on the outside. That's why you see Presley and the others, Terry Labonte behind him down on the inside.
Presley straightened out to a couple or 3 car lengths lead, but Terry Labonte runs very strong. In fact, he's run from him. Joe Nemechek, it looks like, is in the wall.
Nemechek slowing. That's our series champion. Second in the point standings right now. Remember, he came into contact with the wall earlier going around one of the slower cars, and that car has been struggling. Now he has flattened the right side. You can see that damage in the sheet metal on the right side of his Dentine Chevrolet, and he is considerably off the pace. Now showing a lot of smoke where the tire is rubbing, dropping down. What a tough break for the defending series champion, Joe Nemechek from Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah, he definitely has problems. Let's see if we can see what it is. He definitely has damage done out there now. And I don't know if somebody clipped him. Dale Jarrett was on the inside of him going into the turn. It looked like the car just shot up there all of a sudden, so I don't know if they touched or not.
It looked like the car just veered drastically into the wall. I've got to believe that he broke something or possibly cut something in the front of the car, and it just shot across the racetrack abruptly into the wall. Here's the battle for third spot. Harry Gant in the car number 7. David Green who had one of the quicker cars here the last 20 laps. He's the current point leader, driving a car owned by Bobby Labonte, who's now running for the Winston Cup Rookie of the Year Championship. As Joe Nemechek makes his way down pit road, left down pit road, the battle on the racetrack is for third spot. Harry Gant will go to the inside and try to take the spot away. Green in the car number 44. David Green will be slipped back to fourth position. Right behind David Green is Ward Burton in the car of A.G. Dillard. And here is Joe Nemechek as the crew now looking at the right side of the car, surveying the damage. And it looked like he just tagged the wall, but he hit it a ton up there.
He hit pretty good, Jerry. Enough to do some suspension damage to the car. That's what they're looking at right now to see how much suspension damage is done. Here's Ward Burton in the Hardy's car, really with renewed life. He was running in the 7th position before they made those pit stops, currently being shown in 5th place. David Green in 4th, and Ward trying to take that position away.
Ward Burton started way back in 22nd spot in the A.G. Dillard on Hardy's Buick. Ward Burton having won victory in Busch Series competition. That's coming in this race car at Rockingham, North Carolina, and he takes the car now to the inside and will try to take the 4th spot away. And yes, he will take the 4th spot from David Green.
Just moved right around. His car is really working well right now. I'm sure that he came in like everybody else did and put on new tires, but look how he's moving away from David Green.
I mentioned that coming up following us, will be the Jim Beam Steaks from Florence, Kentucky. That was scheduled at 5 o'clock Eastern time, but that will follow us immediately after the conclusion of this Busch Series event. And World Cup skiing will be on at midnight tonight Eastern time, 9 p.m. Pacific. That's the World Cup skiing at midnight tonight Eastern time. Laps to go, this time by 127 laps complete. And Ward Burton is pulled away now in the car number 2. He's back in the 4th position, trying to reel in Harry Gant. But there's our leader, the fellow everyone's chasing, Robert Presley. 2nd generation driver. His dad, Bob Presley, for many years, one of the toughest competitors on the short track, still drives, I think, up and around the Asheville area.
He still runs some and still is very competitive. Joe Nemechek is back out on the racetrack running at a reduced speed. Dale Jarrett just moved around Michael Walker. There they come off of turn 4. That's Tracy Leslie right on Jarrett's bumper. Now, Michael did not change tires this time, Jerry, because he had been in earlier and changed tires, so I think he used up his tire allotment, and it really makes a difference when you put those fresh tires on.
Oh, it does. You're allowed 8 tires. Ray Hill, the NASCAR Busch Series director, saying that you're allowed 8 tires, 2 sets of tires for this race, and many of the drivers used them up in the early laps.
And here is Harry Gant catching up to Terry Labonte. That's 2nd and 3rd we're watching. Robert Presley has moved on away from him. Gant now looking high on Terry Labonte. Let's see if he can make that pass. Labonte gives him racing room out there. And that's coming off of turn 2. Labonte knows that Harry is faster, and I think Terry is one of those that used up his tires maybe a little bit earlier. And so he said, I'm going to ride this thing out and get as much out of it as I possibly can. About 17 more laps to go.
So Gant takes the 2nd spot. Terry Labonte is in 3rd spot. Moments ago, we said Joe Nemechek had a violent impact with the wall. He's made a stop on pit road. Let's check in with Benny Parsons.
Well, Jerry, you talked about Joe slowing down on the racetrack. Here's why he's slowing down. He doesn't have a right front brake on the car. This is the brake rotor off the right front on the Dentine Chevrolet. When he hit the wall, he broke the rotor off. They had to seal off the line on the right front, so there's no brake at all in the front. He's running with rear brakes. The NASCAR official came by and told his crew chief, look, be careful out there because the car is going to stop, as well as it was with 4 brakes, obviously. That's why he slowed down so dramatically.
Certainly a tough break for Joe Nemechek. He will be able to go back in and collect those valuable points toward the Busch Series championship, but he will not be able to have a shot at his 3rd career victory in the series. Robert Presley, on the other hand, 7 career wins, 5 of them coming last year. This one was what started it all 1 year ago here at Darlington Raceway. This young man went to victory lane and had a 5-win season. Back with more from Darlington after this. Stay with us.
Burt Reynolds talks with the Quaker State team.
Hold on. I got to get my name on the car or my fans are getting restless.
No room.
How about on the Big Q?
The Big Q stands alone. Stands for quality.
You can't get better protection.
No other oil beats Quaker State.
How about right here?
No way. Red doesn't like to be crowded.
My fans are getting demanding.
All right. We'll go get the painter.
I must have had a hard time finding the painter. Nothing beats Quaker State. It's one tough motor oil.
You about finished? How's it going? Great. We have a lot of good mechanics that shop at AutoZone. Well, you also have a lot of people who just want to save some money by doing a simple job themselves, like changing their oil or putting in new plugs. They just want to come in, get what they need, and get out. Well, at AutoZone, we have parts for just about every car made. So if you know what you want, great. But if you're not quite sure about something, no problem. We'll help. After all, that's what we're here for.
The Suzuki GSXRs. First, they win more road races than any production motorcycle in history. License plate on them. The new liquid-cooled GSXRs, now available in 600, 750, and 1100 octane.
An aerial shot of Darlington Raceway, courtesy of the Family Channel blimp, as we're underway with the Mark III Vans 200 NASCAR Busch Series event. Laps are winding down. Lots of action yet to come your way tonight on ESPN. Budweiser racing across America from Florence, Kentucky. Coming up next, the Jim Beam Stakes at 7 p.m. Sports Center. Scores and highlights. Then at 7:30 p.m., Division I Mid-East Regional NCAA Women's Basketball. Then later on tonight, following the regional game, Division I West Regional coming up at 9 p.m. Baseball tonight at 11 o'clock, followed by Sports Center at 11:30. And then World Cup Skiing, the World Freestyle Championships coming your way at midnight Eastern Time. So a stellar lineup here on ESPN later tonight. Lots of action coming your way. Robert Presley hoping to be able to hold off for about 11 more laps and get win number 1 in 1993.
And he's looking great right now. Here is David Green, the point leader. He is currently being shown in the 6th position. Then Dale Jarrett and Tracy Leslie have caught him. They've been running in and out on traffic. Larry Pearson right behind them, so that's a good 4-car race from the 6th through the 9th position.
They begin to move down on the inside. That's Sammy Swindell in the car number 26, a sprint car driver. Is Green, Jarrett, and Tracy Leslie.
Now Leslie gets on the inside of Jarrett as Jarrett went high trying to move around David Green on the outside, but it might have cost him a position.
Long day for Dale Jarrett, who's had pneumonia this week and was a question mark as well. He would even be here. And, well, it was never a question mark. He knew he was coming to Darlington, but you can't keep a race driver out. But he's had pneumonia all week and had to start back in 40th spot and has hammered away one by one and picked them off. Now put that car in the top 10.
Cost him a couple of positions right there when he tried to make the move on David Green.
A minute ago, you saw our average speed. Why so slow, you might ask? Well, if you're just joining us, we've had 5 caution flags, some major crashes, but we also had a rain delay, a red flag for 1 hour and 5 minutes, which has slowed certainly this race down considerably.
Look here, Harry Gant is moving in on Robert Presley. Remember this a year ago? These two guys battling for the lead. It was the reverse. Gant was leading, and Presley got by him on the last lap. Maybe Gant has ideas of trying to do the same thing when they get down near the end of this one. He is definitely gaining. And right through turns 3 and 4 is where he's picking up so much of his time, Jerry.
Got to wonder if Jim Harmon has said, okay, Harry, 10 to go. And the veteran from Taylorsville, North Carolina, who has won here 4 times, says, okay, it's payback time, Robert Presley, from a year ago when you passed me with half a lap to go and won it. Going by the Nathan Butke car, one of the rookie drivers. Nathan just 17 years of age, and now Gant's within a car length and a half.
He's there to put the pressure on. Now, he had caught him earlier before they made pit stops, but wasn't able to do anything with him. But he was pretty far back, Jerry. He must have been at least 3 seconds behind Robert Presley. He has run him down.
Ed Whitaker owns that Harry Gant car. It's a Chevrolet Lumina sheet metal, but Whitaker tells me that chassis is older than Gant.
No, couldn't be.
Well,
they didn't even make cars back then.
They didn't have any way to weld them back then, I don't think. At least that car has won a lot of races, including all 4 of them here at Darlington. The chassis, we should say.
Well, it's amazing how you can get a chassis on a race car, and it just continues to work. And they do just update the sheet metal on them. Get one that works, keep it.
We mentioned Harry Gant's car is sponsored by French's Mustard. It's a company that makes it's Holden involved with that sponsorship. Look at this battle back here, 44, David Green. Trouble, one car has come into contact, has spun off of turn 2. That's the Alan Russell car, number 70. Russell, one of the rookie drivers. Out of Charlotte, North Carolina, the Page Sales Oldsmobile.
No caution yet, Jerry.
Watching the flag stand, we don't see any yellow flag. Russell has brought the car down pit road, so he has made it off the racetrack, so there would not be any hazard on the track. NASCAR realizing that the race is a great one, so no harm done. No caution flag.
Robert Preston leading, Harry Gant second, Terry Labonte third, Ward Burton is fourth, and Todd Bodine is fifth. And then in 6th place is David Green, Tracy Leslie is 7th, Larry Pearson is 8th. Wow, they almost got together.
It'll be 3 laps to go this time by for Robert Presley in the car number 59, the Daniel Welch-owned Alliance Training Centers.
They're coming up on some lap traffic right in front of Robert Presley. They've been able to maneuver around it pretty good. That's the car number 5 of Richard Lassiter. He'll move out of their way, or I assume he will. We're staying right in the groove now, going into turn 3. Boy, this is a tough place to pass up here. Presley goes high. He wants to get a good run off of here and try to pass him down the front straightaway if he can.
Harry Gant, remembering a year ago, the on him in turn 3. They'll have 2 to go next time by. 2 laps to go here at Darlington. Glad to have you with us. Benny Parsons, John Kernan, Ed Jarrett, and yours truly, Jerry Punch, as Robert Presley moves to the inside of the Richard Lassiter car.
Robert Presley had to back off because the Lassiter car was there, and Gant had a good run on him, and he's got a good run coming off of this turn too, Jerry. He knows that he's got to take any opportunity he can possibly get. This might be his best opportunity as the white flag comes out, but Presley is still the leader.
Harry Gant, 20 victories in Busch Series competition, 4 in Darlington. He's the winningest driver here. Final lap. Robert Presley out of Asheville, North Carolina, trying to hold off the veteran driver. Presley slides it through turn 2. Gant on the outside.
Well, right back there, coming off turn 2 is where Presley passed Gant the last time. Is he going to be able to hold him off? No traffic is going to come into play as they get back to the start-finish line.
Here comes Gant closing the margin. 3 car lengths, 2 car lengths out of turn 4. Checkered flag, and Presley will take the win. 33-year-old Robert Presley, Owen Edwards. Look at this battle back here. David Green, car number 44, the points leader, trying to hold off. Tracy Leslie in the 72. It will be at the stripe. Green, then Leslie. That was for the 6th and 7th position.
Larry Pearson was right behind them, finished 8th.
Robert Presley takes win number 1 in 1993, makes it his 8th career victory, 2 in a row. In the Busch Grand National Series Mark III Vans 200. Talked to the top of the show, Ned, that these guys want to impress the Winston Cup owners and the Winston Cup drivers to maybe make that move someday. I got to believe those in the Winston Cup garage area who stood, watched, and waited were impressed.
Can't help but be impressed with this young man. With those 5 victories you talked about last year, and then coming in here today and taking it again. Let's go to the pits and John Kernan.
Well, we're with Ricky Pearson. Ricky, not quite the same scenarios last year, but it's 2 years in a row that you beat Harry Gant here. Only this time you had to hold him off on the last lap.
Well, I tell you, Robert done a great job. We was worried about Harry. He was quick all day, and, Mark had his trouble, and there's 2 or 3 more cars run good, but I can't say enough about this Alliance Tractor Trailer Training Center crew. They done a great job. We started a race this morning, and the thing got to pushing real bad, and, I thought, well, we're just going to struggle all day, and we kept adjusting on it, and they kept getting him in and out of the pits quick, and I just can't say enough about Robert. He done a great job. I'm just tickled to death.
Ricky